Hey, how you doing? This is Gab with Yab, and I got my co-host Richard Carrington here, and we doing the Gabbing with Yab again. Tonight we dealing with a notorious crime boss by the name of Ellsworth Bumpy Johnson.
Yes.
You guys probably heard of him. He was a notorious crime boss in the 1960s in New York. You know, and a lot of times during that time is the Italian mafia pretty much ran everything up in New York.
Yes.
And a lot of stuff was going on: heroin, cocaine, prostitution, pimping, illegal gambling, and stuff like that. And he pretty much had his hand in everything. What you think, Rich?
Yeah, you know, I'm really excited to be talking about Bumpy Johnson, man. Bumpy Johnson is, I wouldn't call him, he's a type of Robin Hood, you know. He's the type of guy that, you know, he has a real complicated but extravagant life when you look at it, you know, and you think about what he's been through and how he, you know, was able to survive in the midst of all of that was around him. Because, you know, like you said, he had all those Italian and Irish gang and even Jewish gangs. And he was the one black guy that stood. He stood tall, he stood strong. And, you know, he came from, you know, basically nothing.
Yeah,
you know?
That's true.
He was born, I believe, in South Carolina.
Right, South Carolina.
And I know he came to New York when he was probably like 10, 11.
Yeah.
Because there was some issues, I think, back home. I think they said something like his brother or his cousin, I think it was his brother, was accused of killing a white guy, so the family got them all out of there.
Exactly.
So they didn't burn the house down, because you know how they do.
Oh, they'd do it.
They would have lit them all up.
Mm-hmm. And they took them, and they all went to New York.
Yeah.
And they settled in with his aunt or something like that.
Yes.
You know, so still during that time, Bumpy was young, and he was still doing this stuff, doing crazy stuff like pimping and stealing and doing like penny ante thing just to get by. But he still realized there was still a lot of racial tension, even though he was up north. Right. So he got involved with another dude, right, that saw what he was doing, because Bumpy was notorious on the streets. He was out there doing his thing, hitting folks in the head, and gaining his respect that way.
Right. And so what he did was he got smoother though about his operation.
Yes, he did.
You know? And after he got because he was under the tutelage of who would they call her, Madam Queen or something like
Madam
that.
Queen, that was
and she kind of groomed him because he was kind of, you know, he was rough around the edges. He was street smart.
Exactly.
But he still had that, you know, that temper.
Right.
Because he'll bust you in the head in a minute. You know?
Yes, he would.
And you know, and he was littler. So what happened was too, when I think they said they gave him his name because of his head or something. Yeah, something about his head. He had like a big bump or something on his head.
On the back of his head. That's why he got Bumpy Johnson.
Yeah,
you gotta remember that. He got called Bumpy Johnson because he had a big knot on the back of his head.
Yeah. So he was always had like a chip on his shoulder.
Right.
And you know, as you figured, you know, 10, 11, having a chip on your shoulder, you had to been through something, seen some stuff. You know what I mean?
Right. You're right.
You know, so you know, it was just. As we were, you know, talking about this subject and just talking about, you know, not so much crime bosses, but just people that had impact, especially in New York. You know, we dealt with the outpost situation, but the people that had impact on the city and really kind of changed the city. Yeah. He was a guy that changed New York. He changed Harlem.
Exactly.
And he ran Harlem.
Yes,
and he ran Harlem with an iron fist.
Yes, he did.
You know,
Not only that, he would do things like pass out turkeys and do favors for the people in the community, doing Thanksgiving and things like that. Although they feared him, they loved him as well, because he would take care of the community and stuff like that. And he would get things done if he had to, you know, go to one of the local politicians, like, because Malcolm X was in that area during that time too.
Yep. And they would.
And there was another guy. What was that preacher guy? Wallace. What was his name? It was another black guy. There was. He was a representative for New York.
Oh yes.
Brother. I forget his name.
He was very famous. I can't think of his name right this second.
He was a reverend.
Yep.
Something Wallace, I believe. You guys, sorry for the misinformation, but he was real big in New York too, because he would deal with. He had the churches. And he was a representative, and he would work from D.C., you know, letting them know, hey, there's bad things going on in New York. We need to get this done. We need to get that done. And he would be talking to the president at that time, trying to get, you know, New York cleaned up.
Right.
So Bumpy knew him through church, and of course his wife, her name was Mamie Johnson. Yeah. She was, you know, big in the church and stuff like that. So they knew each other, and a lot of stuff was going on that way.
Yeah. It was famous. representative. I can't believe I can't call his name, but he was
I think
Powell, wasn't it? Was it Powell?
Clayton Powell.
Yeah,
exactly.
Adam Clayton Powell.
Clayton Powell. Yeah.
Powell. Yeah, but he was instrumental because he was able to deal with, relate to so many different people, man. And a lot of times we're not idolizing him or we're not putting him on a pedestal, but you have to be realistic and say that what he did for the community was important.
Yep.
He was an important figure. And they said, well, he was a criminal. Well, he helped those that couldn't help themselves.
That's right.
A lot of people,
That's right.
And yeah, he did do crime.
Yeah.
But you don't. But you weigh the whole person. You weigh the whole person because there's, the Kennedys did crimes, the Rockefellers. There's all the people have done crime, whether it's white collar crime or
Blue collar crime.
You know what I mean.
Crime is crime.
So
isn't it?
and so a lot of times they idolize those old gangsters and Lucky Luciano and John Gotti and all them.
Yeah.
Which is not so old, but they leave him out.
Yep.
And he was the precursor to Frank Lucas,
That's true.
And they did American Gangster about him.
Yep, that's true.
Because he stood under him, and he was his, he was his driver. He was his man. That he believed in him so much. See, when he had like that ability for people to believe in him because he delivered.
Right.
And
that's what you need in a boss.
Yeah.
Although it could have been, you guys may look at it as a negative sense of a boss.
Right.
But just imagine if he would have turned that type of power and that knowledge into a corporate business.
Right.
Going. It wasn't negative, positive.
Right.
If he could have been a corporate businessman or anything,
right.
and he could have turned that thing into a positive.
Right.
But that's either here nor there.
Right.
He didn't.
That's
do
the
it.
life he chose.
Right. And it worked for him.
Right.
I guess. And once again, he ruled New York with an iron fist, and he was responsible for a lot of the heroin and cocaine coming in and out of New York.
Yeah.
Okay, so what he was wanting to do, he wanted to cut out the middleman, which was some of the Italian mobsters.
Right.
And he did that.
Yeah,
so basically all he did, he dealt with Lucky Luciano, and although it wasn't a pretty marriage, both of them did it because both of them wanted money.
Right.
That was the main purpose, people getting money. So he got money, Bumpy got money, so on and so forth. But even during that time, it was still the 60s, and we still had racial tension and things like that. And once again, getting back to Malcolm X was in that era too. He and Bumpy were good friends.
Right.
So even if something was going on in New York or going on with some racial tension, they would talk to each other. Like, how can you help me do this? How can you help me do that? And Malcolm X was inspiration doing a lot of other things too.
Yeah.
Not to say Malcolm X was a crook or anything like that. Back in the day, he did his thing.
Right.
But when he became Malcolm X, he was a spokesperson for black people.
That's right.
And he did really good.
Right.
So Bumpy was sort of kind of like that, but just in an underground sense.
Yeah, he was. And, people, they went to him, they went to his wife when they needed help. And you have to think, when you're in society and you're dealing with racism, you're dealing with poverty, and, people don't have jobs, there's no excuse to say, well, you still can do, you figure out a way to do it.
Right.
He was helping a society that needed help.
Yes.
So there's people, there's people that are not perfect, or people that have done bad things that, still are able to help others.
Right. Of course.
So that's why I look at the positives in what he did, and but I don't ignore the fact of the crime and the killing and stuff like that.
Underground stuff.
But that was their business.
Yes, that's true.
It wasn't like innocent people. That was the people that was in the game with them.
Right.
That was their turf wars and their other things that happened.
So he really didn't bring that to the citizen or whatever.
Right.
But he definitely did his time.
Right.
He went to jail for like 15 years. So he got out of jail. He was in Alcatraz.
Yep.
So he got out of jail at say the age 30, and he kind of like got a little smarter then.
Yeah.
So once he came back from doing that 15-year bid, a lot of things had changed.
Right.
So he was like, what's going on around here? This, that, and the other. And everybody, doing things different. And he knew to do it another way back before he went to jail.
Right.
So he had to get his turf back, and he did.
Right.
So that's when he, collaborated with Lucky Luciano and found out who was doing what.
Exactly.
And got his turf back and started doing things the smart way.
Right.
So.
And that's important because when you think about it, you know, like even the gangs, like at one point the gangs were, you know, they were doing positive things, or they were initially supposedly started to do positive things,
right,
and then it turned negative. Mm-hmm. But they had a code that they lived by.
Yes, yes.
And you know, me, I'm not a gang member. I'm a civilian, so right. I'm not part of that.
Exactly.
You know, and that's kind of the way he was. I think where he was like, you know, again, he didn't prey on people.
Right.
He didn't prey on people. You know, you know, again, he did crime.
Yeah.
He did killing.
Mm-hmm.
But he didn't prey on the weak.
Right.
And see, that's the thing that separates, where I can show him a level of respect.
Exactly.
You know? Now, if you're preying on the weak, and you know,
stomping on just to get what you need to get, that's not right.
Right.
That's
because
right.
We've been living like that for a long time.
Yeah, we have
in society, you know what I mean? And he wasn't about that.
Nope.
So in a sense, he was a strong dude that said, you know, I'm not going to take what these folks are saying, or how they treat him. Like you said, even the Italian gangs wanted to try to talk down to him.
Yeah.
And he stood his ground.
Yes, he did.
And you have to.
And that's what. They respected him.
Right.
They may not like him because of his color or his skin.
Right.
But they had to respect him because his business approach to the game. You know, and it worked out well, and everything was going fine, and he was making money, and like I said, he was still making sure Harlem was taken care of. But you know, it was always a higher being. You know, the government. You know, it wasn't but so much that he probably could do. Right. But he was doing it on a local sense. Right.
Yeah, he was the king of Harlem.
He was. If anybody needed was short on their rent, maybe somebody had got killed and they couldn't bury their loved ones or something like that, he would help people out. Right. You know, they needed to move in and didn't have the first month rent or whatever, he would help them out. They was able to go to Bumpy. Right. And he would do that. He would take care of that. Right. You know, but back in that day, you guys got to realize they had all kind of things going on. Numbers running, racketeering. Right. They had drugs. You know, they had a conspiracy and things like that. Right. And they were still making a living. All that stuff was underground. Right. You know, but they were still.
But he was, like you said, if he had been running a Fortune 500 company, he would have been
a billionaire.
Yeah. He would have been the head CEO. You know? Of course. They would have recognized him for that.
Right. And you guys, don't let that fool you. Just because the guy's a gangster and he may be doing something you might not approve. Right. If he's able to run something like that, that's a smart cat.
Yeah. And that's what they say. They say a lot of prisons are filled with really smart, intelligent businessmen that made bad decisions. Right. You know, and businesswomen that they made bad decisions. Yep. But their intelligence, that doesn't negate their intelligence. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying?
You're right.
So,
and as far as another thing, as far as Bumpy's concerned, like I said, he did his time. He did his time and in jail and stuff like that. So he was once he got out of jail that last time, he had a long run, and he wound up going to jail again. Yeah. Once he got out, he was like 60 in that area. So he got out 5 years before he died for his death, you know, and of course, you're doing things, you get accused of stuff like that. That second time he went back to jail and came out. And how Bumpy died, he was at this diner and he was eating with his friends and stuff like that, and he had a heart attack. Yeah. You know, and they pretty much watched him die in his arms. Stuff like that, you know, but he didn't get killed by the mob or anything like that. Right. He had a heart attack.
Right. It wasn't he didn't go out in a blaze of gun fire and all that.
You know, a gunfight.
You know, and you know, like again, we're not trying to pump him up or glorify. We're just trying to share, you know, because he's a part of our history. Yes. You know, he's a part of us, our community, and like we can't pick and choose our family, but he's part of it. Right. You know, our greater family. Yep. And the important thing is to. Even people, you can always learn from people. Oh yeah. And you can take from I try to take the good from what I can from anyone that I can. You know, I don't throw people out. But you know, his ability to stand up and be proud, because he was proud. And to you know, say, you know, I'm gonna stand on this and I don't care what you believe or what you want to do, what you're trying to do, I'm gonna be me.
Exactly. Because you need somebody like that. Yeah. Whether it's politics or whether it's, you know, the dope game or whatever, or whatever you want to do, because I got a motto: if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. That's right. You know, and he stood his ground and stood tall with it. And I commend him for that.
And because we all had drug dealers or whatever in our neighborhood. Some of them were, bad people, but some of them, looked out for people. I know you guys had some of the biggest ones in D.C. I know Wayne Perry and those guys. There were some serious people. But
he was Wayne Perry. Getting off topic, he was kind of iffy, but. Whenever he was out there, trust me, there's a lot of crime and killing going on. Yeah. But when they got him off the street, it stopped.
He was.
He was rough. He was definitely a rough one. He was like, if you had a big dope dealer in D.C., if you needed something done as far as a hitman, something like that, Wayne Perry was your man. They knew him by that.
Right.
So
he was.
I guess you need somebody to enforce law. Enforce the law in that game. So. But
Bumpy, I think he's in a class by himself, man. I really think so. People talk about, like, again, John Gotti and all these people.
Right.
He's in a class by himself, and he's someone that you can learn from.
Right.
You study his life, and again, learn, take the good. That's right.
And you guys, if you guys want to read more about Bumpy Johnson, of course you can Google him and things like that, because you definitely got had a lot to show for the community, especially in the New York area. And once again, myself and Rich will be bringing you guys all kind of stuff like that between now and all the way through Black History.
Yes.
And if you guys want to follow me, or you guys want to do be with me and be with us, just like, subscribe, and hit that button.
Yes.
Okay. If you guys want to leave me some little change, like I always say, is King Larry 66. $ King Larry 66. That's my cash app.
Yes.
And I would like to say, all you guys following us, I'm Gab with Yab, and you guys will be my gabbers. I call them gabbers.
The gabbers. All right.
The gabber crew.
How that sound? I love it. I love it. Gabbers.
And we're gonna try to keep this rolling. And I'm always enjoying bringing some information to everybody out there.
Yes.
It's always informative. It's always inspirational, and I'm definitely gonna be telling the truth.
That's it.
Must. You guys got anything else?
No, we're looking forward, like you said, topics. They can send in topics. They can, let you know on the comments if they want to, whatever they want to focus on. But Black history is not just Martin Luther King, and it's not just Malcolm X. It's Bumpy Johnson. It's others,
Exactly. And you guys.
It's the whole.
Yep. If you guys want to leave me comments about different things, leave me comments about you guys want to hear a story on somebody else or something or somebody that you guys want to hear about. I'm here to do it. I can do all my research, and we can get out there and try to make everybody happy.
Yes.
All right. This is Gab with Yab and my boy here, Rich. We're out.
Yeah, man.
Good stuff.